Hello, welcome to the podcast that we do about the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. It is live from the pool house. I am, of course, your host with the least, Teal Foster, and I'm joined by the host with the actual most.
Me!
Who is me?
Sonya! Freaking dying of the heat stroke in this summertime heat we're having. It's too hot. Damn you, global warming. It's not a
Damn you indeed.
Yeah.
Damn you indeed, global warming. So yeah, I thought what would be cool. We've been doing this now for 8 weeks. What if we did a clip show?
Yes.
And then it combines 2 episodes as one clip show.
Oh, I thought you meant doing a clip show of our show.
Oh my god, that would be the most meta thing, and I might do that. Wouldn't that be hilarious?
Oh, just have a clip show of me. My favorite clip so far of the shows we've done is when I told, it was episode 6 where I was talking about how I both tweet about Indigenous issues and racism and my crush on, what's his face? Killian Murphy. And
yes.
I was so pissed because Antista said that, that Killian looks like the type of guy who would knock down a teepee, and I was insulted because, I was like, Antista, my people lived in wigwams, but yeah, Killian Murphy's Irish, he would never do that. Anyway, but, we are discussing a clip show today, so we are going to combine it into 2 parts just because the first episode of this one's kind of, not a dud, we'll say, but,
I mean, it's a clip show.
Yeah.
The first episode, if you, it was one of the things, when we started doing this, it actually felt like a dread just watching it. I don't like clip shows.
Me neither.
I'm not a huge fan of it. I think it's very to be fair, it's understandable if you're doing a long running show, just because it gives you more time. As writers, it's less stuff for you to write. But also as a writer, I love story, and in a clip show, you really can't do a lot of story stuff with it, right? So I'm not a huge fan of clip shows. So it definitely, the first half is definitely a slog, especially for me.
Yeah. And then I forgot how good the second half is. So,
right. When it's it's no longer a clip. It's actually an episode. It's
well, yeah. So
this
episode is a 2-parter called Someday Your Prince Will Be in Effect, which first aired October 29th, 1990. This episode was directed again by Jeff Melman, with story by Bennie R. Richburg Jr., who was a story consultant on this show, on Fresh Prince, and was a writer for Martin. So, this episode was written by Cheryl, Gard, and Shannon Gaughan, I think is how you spell her name, or say it. Mm-hmm. Cheryl was co-executive producer on this show, and Shannon wrote for early SNL. So, we're talking 70s, 80s, so she's pretty well regarded. So this episode, in addition to being a clip show, it focuses on Hilary throwing a massive Halloween party at the mansion, and the family has waited until the very last minute to get their costumes. The big conflict of this episode is that Hilary informs Will and Carlton that they aren't invited to the party as they spend most of their time around Hilary's girlfriends trying to hit on them. And Vivian informs Hilary that it's a family party, and she is sure Will and Carlton have dates, which they don't. So, Will and Carlton make a bet to see who can get a date for the party, planning to hit on as many girls as they can at the local mall. Which I found kind of terrible, because we'll get into it in a bit, but hitting on girls that are working is always the worst because they can't say no to you. And I've done that. I have hit on a guy that was working, but I was young and stupid, so that's what I'm blaming it on.
I'm about to say, we're gonna, again, we talked about this in our last episode. We're gonna talk about really relitigating yourself when you were a younger, hornier person. I've done it and it sucks. Looking back now, I would be mortified. If I was around somebody and they were hitting on somebody at a mall, or, at their job, I would be terrified.
Well, especially in this case, because, it often happens that, I was reading this article, I was reading a series of tweets about how at, places like Starbucks or at Hot Topic, girls will actually have guys that they'll hide in the back from, and that these guys will realize what their schedule is and intentionally come in when they're working. And that, I know Will and Carlton don't mean this maliciously, but I'm yeah, as a girl, this kind of rubs me the wrong way, just because I'm yeah, I've had that happen, and it's not fun because you can't say no.
Right.
But yeah,
right. No, it's definitely I remember being at a restaurant and asking a girl for her number and then getting it, and then it was weird because she obviously was not into it, and the thing is when you're doing this and you're a group of 5 dudes and everyone's giggling, of course you're yeah, I know what's up, you guys are all just being jerks. And so it's just never a good thing. I always stress it. It's just don't do it. It's not their job isn't for you to hang out with or for you to hit on. Just don't. It's always just not great.
Yeah, exactly. I go to a restaurant in my city where I think that one of the guys is hitting on me just because I'm a regular there, but I don't act on it because he's working. I don't he's not in a harem. I don't he's not there for my enjoyment. I'm there to eat ice cream sundaes and have a Mongolian barbecue. If he wants to find me in the streets, he can find me in the streets. So, but anyway, so the mall in this episode looks amazing. I love it. It looks it's so cool. There is a bigger mall in my city, but this place is Mall of America size, 2 floor or 3 or 4 floors. It's just this looks so good. And I love the little detail that everyone knows Hilary by name. So it's really cute. A little cute detail. I love that. And I also love that she is the one who suggests Ashley go to the Halloween party as Charlie Chaplin, which makes her kind of a cinephile. I love that little detail. Yeah. Though Ashley doesn't know who Charlie Chaplin is. Which I was aww, everyone knows who he is.
Right. Now, what was your, history, you said you had a smaller wall. What is your history with mall culture and hanging out in malls?
Well, I grew up in the north, on a res, and every time we would come into the city for field trips or something, there would always be a night where we would go to just the mall, and our chaperones would we'd meet up in the food court, and we'd be told, okay, everybody meet back here at 6:30 and don't fuck around. And so we would it was an experience in itself to just wander around the mall. The mall in my hometown that is the most popular didn't have a bookstore though, so I always hated going to that one. But it had our record store was called HMV. It had a huge HMV. It had a bunch of really cool arcade places, and I just love going there still. In COVID, it's closed a little bit right now and not as vibrant, but just going there to hang out is still something I love to do.
Right. No, so the malls are dead in my neck of the woods, but we used to have actually 2 big malls. One was near where my parents live now, which is the Avenue Mall. It's kind of the bigger, it's a more vertically bigger mall in Jacksonville because it had the 2 stairs. And the one I grew up with is the one that's is a decaying husk. It's called Regency Mall. And it was probably a bike ride, 30 minutes away from where I grew up at. It's a 5-minute drive from where I grew up at. And I remember me and my buddy Alfred, we go to the mall all the time. And we would go to your Barnes and Noble and the game spots, and then there was an arcade in there called the Tilt, which was really great. One of the things that sucks is that when I would go to the bookstores, I would be every dude online now. The reason why I'm so aggro against those dudes who are very negative to women in their culture spaces is I was that guy, and I would never forgive myself for that. Because I remember my buddy Lewis and I went to the Barnes & Noble, and I would always go to the manga because I love manga. And I remember seeing like this girl, she was wearing like an FMA jacket, and she's like talking about, she was talking about the anime Trigun, and she was explaining it, and I just remember just being like, she really never watched the show before, which is like the jerkiest, like if I could go back in time and just beat someone up, I would just dangle myself over a toilet, because like it sucks. Like, of course she probably knew. I was just being a jerk just to be a jerk, because I was like 20, but there's no excusing it. And it's just like I hated that they left, but also I'm glad that it is gone, because it was just a lot.
Well, it's like, there is a smaller mall closer to me in my hometown. It's called the Otinike Mall. It's on the Opaskwayak Cree Nation, which is in Nepal, Manitoba. And it's like about 6 or 7 stores. And back in the day, the candy shop had a massive arcade with the 4-person, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game. And so my parents would stick me and my sister in there so they could go shopping without having to buy us like candy and comic books. So they would give us like about $5 in quarters and like have an hour where they would just be able to shop like by themselves. And I remember like the day they got rid of that store, I was heartbroken because it was such an amazing place. Like it was one of those stereotypical like 90s arcades, but oh man, it's so many good memories and trying to win that game and not being very good at it. But as we mentioned at the start, the first part of this 2-parter is almost 60% clips from previous episodes, which I found a bit weird as we're only 8 episodes into the show. So I was trying to find out why there was a clip show so soon, but I couldn't really find anything about it. I think maybe they needed one extra episode or something.
Yeah, usually having never run or show run a television show, yet alone worked on it. But usually they'll do it, right, is because a studio will say, hey, we need an extra episode, and then what's the easiest thing to do if you get 60%, if you can just recut 60% footage, it's really easy, right? I don't know. This is so weird that it happened like this, but I'm not sure why they did it like that.
Maybe it's because the one about the dating didn't feel like, maybe, I'm not sure what their reasonings was for this. And so it's Uncle Phil, going back to the main story of the episode. Uncle Phil does not want to get dressed up and gets distracted by the perfect dad store, this gadget shop. Aunt Viv is looking for safari clothes at Banana Republic when she gets charmed into recording some music at a song booth. And she's really, really good. I only found this out for tonight's recording, but Janet Hubert was in the original Broadway cast for Cats. And I was like, oh my god, really? So I looked it up. I think it was largely because, she's an amazing dancer. But, she was, the ensemble cast, largely. She played, I don't know the story of Cats very well, but she played one of the twins.
There's not a story.
So, I know.
Well, that's the point. It's a review. So, Cats is Lindsay Ellis, does a tremendous, she did a tremendous video essay on Cats called, But Why Cats? And talk about the fever dream of the movie that I still haven't seen yet. I need to see the Cats movie that came out last year. But she does a really fantastic. But it's a review. So Cats is when everyone describes Broadway when I was younger, how we talked about last week with I'm not a huge fan of poetry, right? Cats was how I thought theater was. It's it's just this avant-garde, dance theater, and then, none of the stories, there is no coherent thought. It's just dancing cats. And I would always be oh, that's theater. And then I would actually watch stuff like Wicked and Wicked, Hamilton, just because that's in the zeitgeist now, but Phantom, stuff like that. I really love Broadway, as it turns out. I just didn't like Cats.
Yeah, that's funny that you bring that up because, I thought, for the longest time, I hated theater because I thought it was like Cats, where it was, really high concept and really, really annoying, you know what I mean? So,
right.
And when...
No, it's not... the thing is, it's not just this high concept, it's trying to be smarter than what it is.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just like people messing around. It's like, but this is so genius. It's like, no, it's just people acting like cats. Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Continue.
But I only recently, I used to hate theater so hard, until, a girl I lived with, she said, I imagine, you guys should buy, me and my sister, you guys should buy tickets to Phantom. I'm sure you'll like it. And she was pestering us for the longest time, so we got the cheapest tickets to a Winnipeg production of Phantom, which is Broadway across Canada. It's a traveling show, and it's pretty good. They have really good singers. So we went to see Phantom, and we knew nothing. I read the book, but we didn't know anything about the show. So when the chandelier exploded at the beginning of the show, we dove under the seats, and so it set the tone for the rest of the night. And so by the end of it, we're like the woman in Pretty Woman when she's crying at the opera at the end of the show. And as the show ends, we're just cheering our asses off, and it's okay, I think I like theater now. So.
Yeah, like you said, Phantom whips. It does just start. And it's just the you hear the overture, and it's just as someone who's a music, I love music. I love thematics of music, and I love I have written how scores can be written. It is very so thematically great, and like you said, it just eye popping duh, and then you see the chandelier, and the fact that it falls, and you're just okay, I'm in. This is a action movie. John Wick, that killed his dogs, now he's killing people. It's that same kind of adrenaline, which is why they don't really work well in movie form, because you don't get that whole aspect. It's like live professional wrestling. I can't tell people, wrestling is fun to watch on television. I like it, but I can watch it and I can find myself out of it. Something about watching it live is just viscerally it's just instantly better. It's just instantly better show.
Yeah, exactly. You get a lot crazier when you're actually in the audience. You get taken up in the story. I saw, we went to a house show once, and we were about three rows from the ring. And this guy invited me to sit next to him because they left the seats, and he saw I was a huge fan, and that was a show where CM Punk was the main event, and Wade Barrett comes out right during one of the matches beforehand, and a bunch of these men around me are freaking out and heckling him and stuff like that, and then we're all heckling him, and he's heckling back at us, and he gets to me, the only girl, and he just towers over me and stands close to the barricade and stares me down, and I'm freaking out because I'm holy crap, he's a foot away from me, and I sit down defeated. It was just that would never it's I love that live aspect of it. I love the I saw Phantom when I was in New York last year, and it was such a different thing to be in a theater setting where the show doesn't travel, so they're allowed to do a little bit more crazier things, and it was so cool. I really would love for America to get its act together in regards to COVID, so I could return to New York to see more theater. But yeah, it's such a cool thing, and I'm glad I wasn't set in my ways just because I saw Cats. I like how we got to this discussion because
the Cats. Well, I mean, obviously, this episode's 60% of a clip show, so a lot of the clips they talked about we've already talked about. Mm-hmm. And then also, I don't have an avenue to talk about Cats, and I want to because I want to watch that movie so bad. I still haven't seen it. I don't know if I can justify even paying the $3 for Red Cat, but I want to watch it because it seems like a train wreck. But it's just weird. And like I said, I've been really big into theater. Again, to give Lindsay Ellis another plug, she does a really great musical podcast called Music Planning. It's every 2 weeks. It's tremendous. They go through different plays. It's really great. I want to see Hadestown. So when all this is done, my goal is to go see Hadestown because apparently that is supposed to win. So I have to check that out.
Well,
but anyway,
Well, one more thing about Phantom.
Oh.
So when I saw Phantom in New
Yes.
York, the guy who played the Phantom was this actor named Paul A. Schrafer, and I found out later that he's really, really into CrossFit and shit like that. And man, did he have the biggest ass I've ever seen on some guy! I was like, I was getting distracted because his legs were like bursting out of his pants. It was distracting. Anyway, like he's a pretty, like, I don't mind his voice as the Phantom, but yeah, his booty was distracting me that night.
Also, if you're, okay, here's my thing with Hollywood. I'm sorry, this became the theater episode, but I don't think we get a theater episode in this show. Stop casting good actors who can't sing.
Yes.
Like, maybe you get an actor who is, like, maybe not as good as an actor as a Russell Crowe, but can actually sing. Like, that would be great. Like, I have not watched Les Mis after turning it off like halfway through. I just can't. I think Hooper is an okay director. Like, I'm not on the, like, a lot of people like talk crap like he's like, oh, he's a terrible director. I don't think that. I think he's a good director. I just don't think he knows how to direct a musical, and I don't think he understands like it's less is more. And the thing with musicals is like it's implied. Like Hamilton just came on Disney Plus like recently. And I'm glad, like, having seen that stage play, of Hamilton, I love it. And there's a lot of great, like, performances there. And having watched that, I really don't think that should be, like, they should never in a million years actually make that stage play into an actual movie.
Mm-hmm.
Because it would lose everything. Like, half the part of it is, like, the rotating stage that simulates the hurricane. Like, that's genius. The fact that, like, there's an actress who portrays like the bullet as she moves through. Like, there's only things you can do as film, like as stage, that you can't do as film, and Hollywood just needs to stop.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's just stop. We don't need. Just make your own musicals. Like, I'm down to watch a musical. I want Rebecca Sugar to write a musical. I want Disney to give Rebecca Sugar all the money in the world to make whatever she wants. That is, because Steven Universe is great, and if we do the Patreon one day, I'm just going to be like, Sonya, we just need to have an episode where we talk about Steven Universe.
Oh, I will be down for that, yes.
I love that show so much, but having watched Steven Universe and watching a lot of her other stuff she did, like Rebecca and everything like that, just give Rebecca Sugar all the money and say, go, like, do that, but stop, like, the stage is a stage, and movies are movies, and what we should be doing is we should be making stage more profitable that more people can go see them.
Yeah, exactly.
A lot more playwrights need to put their plays like in the availability for more people to do them locally. Like stop hiding them behind copyrights, stuff like that. Well, not hiding them, but they need to be more accessible so more people can see them. I think that's important.
Mm-hmm.
But I really don't want another Broadway. Like, I'm going to watch In the Heights because it's Lin-Manuel Miranda, but, like, I don't know how that's going to go. And I haven't seen the In the Heights play, but I'm going to watch the movie, so.
Well, and, like, it's bothersome to me, too, because, like, sometimes they will make good casting choices in regards to musicals. Like, I thought that Patrick Wilson as Raoul in the movie Phantom, R.I.P., the guy who directed it, Schumacher, but he did a really good version of All I Ask of You from Phantom, because he's an actually trained singer, so, like, he was really good. But, I love the review I saw of somebody said of Gerald Butler as the Phantom. The Phantom is supposed to have an ugly face and a beautiful voice, not the other way around.
Right. Gerard Butler and Russell Crowe, like, it's just like they're like, who are the worst singers that we can get that would be really, like, because they're, again, like you said, the Phantom is supposed to be, I'm so deformed. Why would you want to see my face? I wear this mask.
Mm-hmm.
And you take off the mask, I'm Gerard Butler,
Yeah.
one of the most like attractive men in the world. Why do I wear this mask?
Well, I think it could have worked too if it was like somebody like Hugh Jackman, like because I think Hugh Jackman actually has some sort of reverence for the musical theater, so like he actually would be good. But that he was the whole reason I liked the Greatest Showman. Like, even though some of the songs in that soundtrack were like giving me Cats vibes, where I was like secondhand embarrassment regarding it, but still, it's like some of the songs really like went, and I was just like, oh my god. But okay, we just had like a 10-minute conversation about theater. Sorry. But okay, we'll go back to the episode. So Hilary is in charge of looking after Ashley. And they end up in various stores looking for Hilary's costumes, plural, as she plans to go as a runway model. So at the same time, Will and Carlton are having a terrible time trying to find dates. Will gets slapped when he sprays cologne on a woman's chest, which I was all for. Like, she should have like called the cops on him. But
yeah, don't do that.
Yeah.
Like, no woman ever thinks it's cute when you spray stuff on them.
Yeah, exactly.
Just FYI.
And Carlton ends up spraying a cute salesgirl with ink. So Will and Carlton make the classic young man mistake, as we mentioned at the top of this hour. They hit on girls working at stores where they have to be nice to you. So it's like, yeah, like I again, like as I mentioned, I made the mistake of hitting on a dude working on the store, but like I'm a thug and I don't give a F word about it. So it's like, I am cute.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, I've definitely done it. I used to do the thing. So we used to go to this bar, and it was like this bar that was in downtown Jacksonville called the Pearl. It was great. Because, like, you pay $5, like, cover charge, and the whole night, like, the drinks for free. Like, the only thing you paid was your cover charge. So, like, when you're 21, 22, 23 years old, you just get the worst kind of drunk. Because they're free drinks, right? And every night when we would leave, I would reach out of my buddy Lewis's car, roll down the windows, and I would yell, "Ladies, can I get your digits?" And like, it sucks now, but one, I wasn't attacking them when they were at their job. Two, if they were going to give me their phone number, I wouldn't know what to do with it. And three, we were literally in the car driving away. I was just like, it was like a weird form of catcalling, without being malicious. Like, I wasn't being like a terrible catcaller, but I was definitely like, yelling at. I was hollering from my best friend's ride, like the true scrub I was.
But so Will and Carlton have a mad dash across the mall when they see a girl by herself, Melinda, who they both try to impress. And so this is when the show goes from a recap clip show to an unreliable narrator episode when they both lie about themselves to impress Melinda. So Carlton tells a story about himself that makes him look like Michael Jackson in Smooth Criminal, where he saves Will's date from Will's own selfishness. So I always quote this episode with my sister, whenever she's trying to spend money or something. I'm always like, well, that's awfully expensive, Carrie. Let's just go down this dark alley. I just love that part. And we get to see Carlton dance a little bit, which is pretty cool. Like, I love how kick-ass he looks. Like that scene where he's lit from behind in the alley. Just like a beautiful shot. I love that.
Well, and he used to do a lot. I think he was like a backup dancer for Michael.
Yeah, like he was
Michael Jackson. Yeah,
he was in a Pepsi commercial with Michael. Yeah, so he's pretty good. He's got the credentials. So
yeah. As we talk with a future guest in the future times, yeah, he's a classically trained dancer. So like, it's really like, it's very possible that he would have that. Will's side on the other end. Let's just talk about all the people he's friends with.
Okay, so he's Will tells a story about being close personal friends with the following people, and I made a list. So Heavy D, Kadeem Hardison of A Different World, Sports Guy, which you'll get me for her later, Bo Jackson.
oh, absolutely. And I'm going to explain why. So,
Guy, Quincy Jones. Singer Guy, I'll Be Sure. and Malcolm-Jamal Warner of The Cosby Show, who all come to Will for advice on their careers or their girls, which Will mentions when he reminds Quincy about how he came up with the idea for Thriller.
All right, so of those 6 people, how many of those people have you actually heard of before?
I've heard of Heavy D. I've heard of Malcolm-Jamal. At the time, I knew Heavy D and Malcolm-Jamal. I also knew Quincy just because of his credits on the show.
Right. All right, so Kadeem Hardison, like I said, A Different World, Dwayne Wayne. He's probably one of my favorite actors of all time. He's so great. So Bo Jackson. Sports guy, Bo Jackson. To call Bo Jackson a sports guy is, like, it is the most diminishing thing. It's not, like, a negative thing. It's just, like, Bo Jackson is... God only made one of these. Bo Jackson is, like, he's, like... He would have been... If his body wouldn't have betrayed him, he would have been the greatest sportsman of all time. Mm-hmm. He legitimately played pro football and pro baseball at the same time and was a legit superstar in both of them. He was a running back from my college alma mater, Auburn University. Probably the greatest running back to ever come through college football. And he also played left outfield in MLB. There's a great documentary called You Don't Know Bo that was on my ESPN. It's tremendous. Bo Jackson, he's so great. He has this one great play where in baseball is a very huge field. People don't realize how huge a baseball field is. He went and threw a ball from the warning tracks on the left outfield all the way to home base and got somebody out. Like, and when people see, like, when he got the guy out, the guy was in disbelief that he threw him out. Bo Jackson only stopped playing sports because he tore his own hip out of place because he was running so fast and had to stop and pivot and tore his own hip.
Oh.
There is only one of them. Bo Jackson is, like, legitimately, like, a legend. And in a just world where he is healthy the whole time, he's bigger than Michael Jordan. Mm-hmm. He's a guy who would have been bigger than Michael Jordan. Bo Jackson is just great. Love Bo Jackson a lot. Albie Shore is another R&B guy. A lot of, like, early, like, New Jack Swing stuff. So yeah, these are, like, a lot of stuff like that is, like, definitely Travis people. So definitely love that.
I thought Bo Jackson was the guy that appeared in Mr. Perfect's vignettes. I had to look it up just to make sure.
Wait, isn't he? I think he is in one of them.
He is. Wade Boggs is in one. I'm just trying to find it. Let's see. Because I'm like, was he in that? Like, so I'm just trying to find out vignettes.
I think he is in the vignette.
So I'll find out. We'll cut this out later while we're looking. Hockey, football.
No, it's not. Steve Jordan is the football guy.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, but I recognize Kadeem now because I've been watching A Different World, and so, like, I remember, I totally forgot he was in this episode, and I was like, oh, right, I know who that is now. So, but it's kind of funny to me that Heavy D appeared in this episode and he didn't appear in the one where Will and Grandma Hattie go to see him in concert. So I think it was probably just like a random cameo that he did because they shouted out to him. So
right.
But yeah, so Melinda decides to go with raw physical attraction when making her choice, and to Will's horror, she goes with Carlton. So Uncle Phil ends up having to break up a concert being put on by Vivian after her singing attracts a large crowd, which is bigger than the one the dancers in front of Sam Goody had that Will broke up. So, like, she had a really big crowd by the end of it. She was singing Proud Mary, I think, by the end of it. Like,
yeah,
because she was singing she sang an Aretha song, and I can't remember what else she sang, but I remember the Aretha song was perfect. She was really good at that one. So at the same time, Hilary and Ashley are picked up for shoplifting when Hilary forgets to pay for Ashley's chaplain hat.
Mm-hmm.
The security officer, Eugene, is played by Tim Russ, who played Tuvok on Star Trek Voyager. Eugene is invited to Hilary's Halloween party, partly because it makes the paperwork go faster, and because Eugene has a plan. So, I don't know if he actually legit had a plan, or is it just set up, but anyway, he has a plan. So, Will regroups at the croissant shop where he and Carlton ate earlier, and talks to the kind waitress Cindy, who gives him her last peanut butter croissant, which looks terrible. I wouldn't eat it, but this sets it up for later. So the party gets underway with Will as Superfly, Ashley as Charlie Chaplin, Carlton as Dracula, Hilary as a model, Melinda as Mrs. Claus, Aunt Viv as Tina Turner, and Uncle Phil as himself. So I love the scene where a man dressed as a clown is lecherously staring at Aunt Viv, and Uncle Phil just threatens him. Like, I didn't know who Superfly was, so I had to ask you regarding blaxploitation, because I looked it up and I couldn't find the exact costume that Will wears.
Right.
So,
no, Superfly is more of like it's more of like an idea.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was a specific movie, right? But, like, Superfly is like, so I talked about it, when I talked about blaxploitation on Laser Time. It's a movie I'm not really the most, familiar with, but, like, we talked about it before. That's the great thing about Will is, like, as a character, he's so pro-black, and he talks about, like, these blaxploitation movies, like, he loves them, like, and it makes sense, like, when he grew up. He would have been one of those people, like, who would have been into it. But Superfly is one of those movies, like, to me, it's less so. Like, I like the Mac and Shaft over Superfly. Superfly's fine. It has Huggy Bear in it, which is what everybody remembers. Yeah.
So Melinda is arrested for stealing from the Banks' house as Eugene reveals that Melinda was the shoplifter he mistook Hilary for. And it's implied that she only dated Carlton for the chance to go to his house and steal stuff. So Carlton brags that he still won the bet. But then Cindy arrives, dressed as Cinderella, and Will wins the bet. And she looks really cute. I really like her dress, so it's adorable. I just love it. And so she looks really cute, and and the party goes off really well, and like everyone's happy except for Carlton, who goes to bed grumpy because he lost a bet and found out that the only girl that wanted to date him was a kleptomaniac. So,
was a thief.
Yeah, exactly. So the night ends with trick-or-treaters arriving at something like 2 a.m. because they were watching Matlock. So it's like because the party's over, right? And it's still technically the same night. So it's roughly 2 or 3 in the morning right now. And so Will tells them a scary story about the Bel-Air beast who ends up appearing at the party. Spoiler, it's Carlton. So, but what did you think about this episode, TL?
I think as we talked about it, the episode 8 version of this is, I think, very boring just because we've been here before, right? And it just seems really not fun. But then episode 9, when it becomes like the episode, and I think as it becomes more of a look at, Will and Carlton's, like, as their relationship becomes a lot more stronger, and they become less of distant cousins to more of like a brotherly thing, right? And it's really weird, just like having like watch with HBO Max and like having these where I'm just gonna watch Fresh Prince through, like, even though we're gonna talk about these episodes, I'm just watch it through and seeing episodes as we go further and as their relationship goes through, and like they legitimately love each other so much. It's episodes like this where you can kind of see that start to bubble up, and they're starting to kind of, become more jokingly, combined together. Yeah. So I really like that aspect of it.
Yeah, and I like that, because we do see Carlton and Will becoming closer later in the series, but I like that, like, because you can imagine that, like, the reason why Carlton is so close with Phil is because they're the only guys in the family. Like, Hilary has Ashley and their mother, but who does Carlton have? Like, and so with Will being there, he finally has a brother. And so I really like that aspect of their relationship. Plus, it's really cute to see them at odds because they're both terrible at picking up women. So like,
oh, yeah.
yeah, so that's like, that's the best part of this episode is that when Will finally is truthful and is sweet and is honest, he gets a girl. And so that's why I really like this episode. It has a positive message about like the importance of being yourself. Because like Cindy only likes him after he comes back defeated. So it's like, so it's a good episode for that reason. Plus, like, Janet Hubert singing the whole time was amazing. I'm just like, oh my god. Like, she was singing I Never Loved a Man the Way I Loved You by Aretha Franklin, which is one of my favorite songs. So it was really cool to hear her sing it. But,
right. No, definitely. Like I said, it was a really good episode. It really turned what was just a boring clip show. So
exactly.
all right. Well, that is this episode. As always, Sonya, do you have anything that you would like to promote?
Well, just check me out on Twitter. I am at honey_child. Just talking about Indigenous life in these COVID times and wishing I could travel but can't right now, and and drinking all the Coke Zero I can find. So.
All right. Yeah, you can find me over on Twitter at Travis L. Foster. I do a podcast called P&B. I'm usually on everywhere, so yeah, just find me out. Like I said, I'm going to say it every episode until I finish it. Started to write a rom-com, so
write that rom-com, TL.
I'm writing that rom-com. All right. So for Sonya, I am TL Foster. This has been Life in the Pool House. Don't get thrown out like jazz.